All right, we should be live now. Let's see. All right, we're live. Nice. Let me just double check this. Yep, we are live. All right, we should be live. All right, so now I just gotta, let's see, silence my internet here. All right, we're live.
That's good.
There we go. All right, so happy Veterans Day, Mr. Gideon Kantor. How you doing today?
Very good, and thanks for your good wishes.
I'm so excited to have you here with us. It was a pleasure meeting you in person last week in Atlanta.
Right.
And so very happy to have you on here and looking forward to having some people get to meet you as well and ask some great questions.
I'm glad that you have invited me.
Yeah. All right. So hopefully people have had a chance to read your story in the post we did about this. So I just want to jump right into it, and we're going to have some people get on and ask you questions and get to know you.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
all right. So first off, we're going to go in order. We're going to start with Nathan, then Matthew, then Michael, then Connor. So we have a little bit of a delay, so I'll wait so they can get notified here. And then we'll bring in Mr. Nathan Riley, and they can ask you questions. Here we go. Nathan, you're coming in.
There's nothing to see there.
Here we go. Here we go. Morning, Nathan. Can you hear us?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Nice. I guess it's not morning for you over in Ireland.
No.
Nice. Well, you're on with Mr. Gideon Kantor. Go ahead and introduce yourself and ask your questions.
I was just going to say hello. I'm 14, going on 15 now. From Ireland.
We can't see your mouth.
Oh, shit, sorry.
We can only see the top of your head.
Sorry. No, I was just saying I'm going on 15 now and I'm from Ireland.
Yeah. He's all the way from Ireland, Gideon.
Okay, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
And both of you have a pretty thick accent, so we're going to have to try and work this out.
Yeah. I'm glad to be talking to him.
All right. Well, go ahead and ask a question.
When you were in the war and you had to talk your way out of in French, what was your main concern?
Did you understand that question, Gideon?
So I heard part of it, so I can help.
Yeah, when he was in the war and he had to talk his way out of situations using French, like what was that like for you? Like what were you thinking?
So when you were in wartime and when you had to speak French, how did you feel when you were using?
Well, my French is fairly good, so I had no problems to communicate on any topic.
Right.
Nice. What kind of situations did you have to talk yourself through? Like what kind of situations did you have to speak French and talk yourself out of?
Well, there was really one very clear situation. We landed 1 month after D-Day at Utah Beach, and which is on what's called the Cotton Term Peninsula, and we were advancing, and my unit got cut off from our troops, and so in a sense we were encircled by the Germans. So thanks to my French, I was able, and also to my training at Camp Ritchie, I was able to ask the proper questions of the French people that were in that neighborhood on what was going on, and so I found out in which direction the Germans are, and since we where is the 4th Armored Division and various trucks. We had very limited firepower. It was mostly M1s, so we couldn't fight our way out. So we had to get out by knowing which way to go. And thanks to my communication with the French people, we were able to escape a German encirclement.
Yeah. Wow.
Cool.
That's wild. Now, Nathan, are you familiar with the Ritchie Boys?
Yeah, I took the course at Camp Ritchie, and as a matter of fact, it's interesting that having passed the course like I did, I was eligible to be appointed a non-commissioned officer. But actually, due to the many things that happened, I guess I never got really formally appointed.
Now, can you explain to everybody what the Ritchie Boys were, Gideon?
Well, they were people that knew the language of the prisoners, and in this case, they were, of course, the German prisoners, and they would be able to know questions to ask them about what units they were of, and whether they knew what the plans were of their unit, and various questions that were pertinent to the very location we talked to them, at the very location that we talked to them.
Okay. Yeah, it's the whole Ritchie Boys story and the way it was put together and how it all worked is pretty fascinating. Very fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, Nathan,
I also was, to my mind, was fascinating is that like I was born in Vienna, Austria, and that we had the opportunity to cross-examine the German prisoners, although we were born in that part of the world, and so I think it's a high tribute to the military to make the decision, and of course it was very successful.
wow. Right on. Nathan, you got another question?
No, that's all.
That's not all?
Thanks, Doc. Yeah, thanks.
It's crazy, dude. Your voice has changed so much.
Yeah, I've been told that. Been told that by a lot of people.
Nathan's been joining these for 3 or 4 years now, Gideon, and so he was just a little kid when he first started coming on here.
Mm.
Pretty rad. He's met a lot of veterans.
Mm.
He has met a lot of veterans on here. Well, Nathan, always good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Sure,
Thank
we'll
you.
see you soon. All right.
Thank you.
Have a
Right,
good
bye.
one. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
So, Gideon,
Yeah.
why don't you, for the people who maybe didn't see your bio on the post, why don't you tell people a little bit about your story?
Well, I was born in Vienna, Austria, and in 1938, Austria was annexed to Germany, and with it came the Nuremberg laws, which, in a sense, in which essentially said that being Jewish is different than being either German or Austrian, and therefore could be persecuted on many levels. When Hitler came, that was in 1938. I had my bar mitzvah in April 38, and since my father was a successful lawyer in Vienna, he was arrested by the Gestapo, but fortunately he was released in August. I had to change my school from a school where I mixed with non-Jewish kids to a school that was only for Jewish children. And in a sense, it's a replica of the Jim Crow law, except that fortunately in the Jim Crow case, at least people were not automatically killed. At least not in 38, but in 40 and 41.
Yeah.
I refer, of course, referring to the Holocaust.
Wow.
Keep going. What's the rest of the story?
You're interrupting him. Keep doing.
So we fled to France, and I went to school there, and it was very, very informative and stimulating. But as you well know, the Germans occupied France, and although there was an occupied and non-occupied zone, either zone was not the place for a Jewish person to be. So we escaped from France through Spain and Portugal to Cuba, and then to the United States.
And how old were you when you left France?
In France, it was 13 to 16.
Okay. Wow. So in your formative years there. Wow.
Yeah, right. Of course, these were they were formative, but in a sense, from a formative point of view, they were very, very focused, because my attention was to assimilate the French language in a short time. So I didn't really have much time to have fun as a recreation.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a bummer, man. Wow. That's crazy. That's pretty wild. Well, let's bring in another person here and get some more good questions going. Matthew, you're coming in. Let's go. Oh, lost him. That was weird. He connected and then he disappeared. So let's bring in we'll bring in Connor. I don't know what happened there. All right. Connor is connecting. What's up, Connor?
Not much. How are you? I'm just enjoying my time during Veterans Day to celebrate our veterans that are still with us, that are no longer with us, that sacrificed our lives to save this great country.
That's right. That's right. Well, you're on with one of the finest.
That's right, and that is Gideon Kantor.
Gideon Kantor.
Hi.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, for starters, my name is Camp Ritchie. I am 18 years old, and I'm a country boy from Lafayette, Louisiana.
That's right. We got Camp Ritchie and a Ritchie boy. Boom.
Yeah. Yeah, the Ritchie Boys were stationed at Camp Ritchie, Maryland, from what I understand. But enough of that. I will ask you some questions. My first question for starters, who were your parents' names, and did you have any siblings, brothers and sisters?
What were your parents' name, and did you have any siblings?
Did I have what?
Tell them about your parents and your siblings.
I don't get it.
Your parents?
Oh yeah, my parents. Actually, you have to go back into history. before the First World War, there was the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and then so they were really born. They were born in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and then after World War One, different states, part of the empire, were separated, and in one of the states, my parents were born, which until rather recently was called Czechoslovakia. Now it's called the Czech Republic, and I had a sister which was 2.5 years older than I was, and my father was a successful lawyer in Vienna, and I until my 13th year, which was when the Hitler regime started. Until then, I led a normal life of a growing up boy. But then when Hitler came, immediately the Nuremberg law went into effect, which is in a sense similar to the Jim Crow law, except that the Jim Crow law did not postulate that all blacks should be killed, but by implication, the Nuremberg law really led to that.
Yeah.
And,
what were your parents' names? What were your parents' names?
My father's name was at that time Siegfried, which he changed in United States to Samuel.
Oh wow!
And my mother's name was Irma, and my sister's name was Ritchie, which she changed when she came to the States to Alice.
Oh wow! Was that a common thing back then for when people came over here? They changed their name.
Well, I think that that was strictly a personal preference, but in our case, I don't exactly know why my sister changed the name, but she liked the name Alice, and my father didn't like the name Siegfried because that's a very German name, and he didn't want to be characterized as a Austrian, which is similar to German.
Okay.
After Hitler took over.
Now, did you change your name, or was Gideon your birth?
That's kind of funny. My name was until I was until essentially just a few years after my naturalization was Guido, Guido. But I had so much seen in the Second World War that I felt it would be more appropriate to use the first name Gideon.
So it was originally Guido?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Wow. Guido to Gideon. I like it. All right, cool.
You pronounce it correctly.
Guido?
Yeah, that you pronounce it correctly. Some people have problems with the pronunciation. Some call it Guido, for example, and other ways. But you did it. You did the right pronunciation.
Yeah, nailed it. Nailed it. All right, Connor, go ahead with another question.
Yeah. So I read your biography, and it says you were at the 4th Armored Division, and it says that you brung gasoline to the tanks. Can you describe what that job was like?
Well, it's it was. I mean, of course, every time you delivered gasoline in cans, you were subject to being attacked and possibly killed by the Germans. But it was a rewarding job in the sense that you knew that with the gasoline cans, the 4th Armored Division could keep on moving forward. So it was really a very it was very encouraging to be part of the former 4th Armored Division in that sense.
Yeah. Now, were you guys targets a lot because you're carrying the gas? Were you targeted by the Germans?
Well, some people were. We had a few killed. Luckily enough, the only time I was directly targeted was way back when we were still in France, and I mentioned to somebody how we got cut off from the American Army. On my seat in the truck, we vacated the trucks, and a grenade was ended up on my seat. Unfortunately, I wasn't there.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
And you were also the survivor of the Battle of the Bulge. Can you describe what was it like being a soldier in the front lines, experiencing not only shell shock and guns shooting, but the weather too?
Yeah, the weather, of course, was a big factor, and we were fortunate that there was a laundry unit which allowed us to change socks at a regular rate, so we wouldn't get frostbitten. And I thought that this was really a very effective way to prevent it by just having the opportunity to exchange socks maybe every other day or so.
Yeah, it sounds like you were one of the lucky ones. 'Cause
Right.
I've talked to lots of veterans who didn't get that.
Right.
They didn't get that luxury. Yeah, I guess that was probably a big part of that was like where you were, the timing of it when you were in the bulge, whether or not you got access.
Well, we were really, the main thrust in the bulge was not the 4th Armored Division, but we at the end we were called in to support the support the fight against the Germans. But I personally saw this. We went towards the bulge, and I saw all these haggard faces of people that left the bulge because essentially, as you know, we won the battle, but we had quite a few casualties. As a matter of fact, we were before the bulge. We were also stationed in Belgium, and we were ready to pitch in. But as I said, by the time they called in the reserves, fortunately, we had already won the battle.
Wow, that's wild. Connor, you got anything else?
I would like to ask him what was it like to liberate the concentration camp later on in the war.
Well, we were essentially the first troops, the first troops that saw a liberated concentration camp, which was at Ohrdruf, and it's just so terrible to see that even after all these years, I vividly remember many images of it, and there were so many emaciated. There were many killed. Other prisoners were emaciated, and you just couldn't understand how I couldn't understand how the Germans tolerated this, because they say, well, we didn't know about it. in the Ordo case, they surely knew about it because every day the prisoners were walked to an area to do work, and they are already in a terrible state, and not to recognize that is certainly not something that I can imagine or anybody else can imagine. So the fact that they said they didn't know anything about the concentration camps is a big lie, or
Yeah.
was a big lie.
I mean, I can imagine for you, just personally, it had to be a completely different experience than most, just the average American soldier going in. For you as a Jewish person, experiencing and seeing the concentration camps had to hit you a lot different than it did the other guys. What was that?
Yes, but
What did you feel personally when you experienced that, when you saw that?
well, yes, I completely agree with your analysis. And one simple fact that made my reaction differently than that of Americans, even American Jews who were born in the United States, was that I did already know that relatives of mine were killed in the Holocaust, and as a matter of fact, they were about 25. And I still have this feeling. I still sometimes have a feeling of a low in my thinking because these were just terrible times. And as time passes on, instead of forgetting about it, in a sense, it gets worse, because the more you think about the methods used to kill Jews, the more you say, well, how is that possible?
Yeah. It's just horrific. Absolutely horrific. Yeah, I just feel it's such an intense feeling for me, just talking with guys like you and knowing what you experienced and knowing what just your people went through, and just it's heartbreaking. But I mean, I can't imagine just the feeling that you feel, and I admit I have absolutely no idea how that feels for you, but I'm glad that you're here to share.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, I'm glad that you're here to share it with us so we can even understand a little what it was like for you and for your people.
Yeah, that brings up the point that I in a sense was fighting two wars. First of all, for my country, the United States.
Yeah.
Top of it, I considered it a privilege to fight the Germans who were murderers, and I wanted to say something else. And so as I said before, so I fought also in addition to fighting for the United States, my country, I was also fighting to revenge, in a sense, the murders committed against my family.
Yeah.
And I was 17 years old when I graduated from the American high school, and when I was 18, I already had 1 year of college at New York University, and I decided to volunteer to serve in the American Army because I had a possibility to first finish my studies before going into the Army, and that would that would have been that would have been let's see, I got into the Army in 1943, and I was a freshman at the time. And if I would add another 3 years to 1943, I would get 1946, which in a sense was after the war against the Germans.
Yeah.
The Germans already had surrendered. But I'm so glad that I took that action, that initiative to volunteer instead of finishing my college studies, because I really, at least it could help me to see, could help me to feel, it's not better, but to feel a little bit satisfied that I did something to avenge the death of my relatives.
Absolutely. And we're glad you did too, man. It took a lot of you guys to make it happen and get over there and get it done. And so we're thankful as well that you were able to do that.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Connor, good to see you, bud. You got anything else you want to say before you head out?
Well, Mr. Kantor, before I head out, I'd like to thank you for your service and thank you for willing to sacrifice and save our great country.
You're welcome.
And happy Veterans Day. My great granddad was a World War II vet. Right here. My great granddad, my great grandfather was a Second World War veteran, and he was born on Veterans Day, and so was his dad. So he and his dad both share the same birthday.
Oh, wow. That's pretty
His
cool.
dad was born like in 1878 or something like that.
Nice.
Wow,
His dad.
that's awesome.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Good to see you, buddy, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye. All right, Eric. That's pretty fun, huh? Or not Eric. I say Eric on there. Gideon. I should change the name there. Let me hold on. Let me change this. Gideon Kantor. There we go. Just so we know what's up. All right. So we're going to some more people here. So let's see if Matthew can get connected again here. So I can't remember. Did I ask you how old you were when we were live, or was that before?
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, and what?
Yep, we can hear you. I can't
Can
see
you
you.
repeat the question?
I can't see you, Matthew. Are you
I
there?
do not know what's going on with that. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Oh, there it is. Oh,
there
there
you
we go.
Now we can see you.
Yeah, sorry about before. I don't know what happened with that bad connection. Thanks for getting me back in here.
It's all good. All right, go ahead and introduce yourself. You're live with Mr. Gideon.
Hi, Mr. Gideon. My name is Matthew Aronson. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I'm 29 years old, and I'm no, just it's a real honor to be speaking with a man who not only went through intelligence training at Camp Ritchie, but also served in the famed 4th Armored Division.
Right.
Yeah, so all right, you want to answer? I'll ask my question, I guess. So what was it like being in France when the French Army defense collapsed and the Germans invaded the country?
Well, it was really terrible. As a matter of fact, my sister went to was in the lycée, and one of her teachers told her that her husband didn't even have adequate shoes to be in the French army, and my father just couldn't believe it. It was a complete shock. The inability of the French army, which had the Maginot Line, which was a defense line up to Belgium, to keep the Germans back. And so this happened when I was in my second year of the lycée in Bordeaux, which is a port on the Atlantic, a French port on the Atlantic, and my parents decided they better flee from Bordeaux, and this in itself was a very taxing and moving experience. I remember to flee by bus and what have you to Marseille, which was at the time the non-occupied zone. I remember one scene still very vividly. We were trying to take a bus that gets us out of the occupation zone, and the bus was very full, but they had an open window. So my father took my sister and pushed her through the window so that she was in the bus. And I presume afterwards he said that his daughter was already in the bus, and that's the way all of us could get on the bus and get away from the German occupation. But as I should add, that German occupation did exist also in 1941 when we fled from non-occupied France, because as far as the Jews were concerned, they were ready to kill them regardless of where they lived in France, whether they lived in the occupied or non-occupied zone, which Marseille was. Marseille is a port on the Mediterranean.
Yeah. Wow.
I can imagine how hard that must have been, just how shocking it must have been, given that the French army had defeated the Germans in the First World War, and how
Right.
the Maginot Line was propped up as this great defense that they could never get through. And also just being in Vichy France, which was essentially just a puppet state of the Nazis, which
And
One reason,
teenager.
it's not a justification, but the fact was that the French, I think, lost more than 1 million people in the First World War. And I guess they were still, as far as their spirit of combat was concerned, they still were not with it.
Wow. That's wild.
So what was it? So after training at Camp Ritchie and then getting sent over and then landing at Utah, what was it like being back in France after, a few years in the United States?
Well, yeah, that I mean, in a sense, since I was in France from my 13th to the end of my 15-year-old, when I was 15-year-old, it was like coming back, in a sense, to a country that you knew before, and I was very pleased that, particularly in Brittany, the French gave us a fantastic welcome with school children along the highway, giving out drinks to our troops that had left the Normandy Peninsula and went west to cut the Germans off in Brittany. So it was a wonderful feeling also to be able to being able to liberate the French, and the French are very thankful for that. As a matter of fact, since I had I had sort of 5 battle stars, 3 of which I think fighting the German in France or Belgium. I was able to get, after the war, a high honor, namely the Legion of Honor, Légion d'honneur. And I'm very, very proud to have it. Of course, I'm even proud of the 5 battle stars.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I have a question. Before, when you were living in France as a teenager, did you go to Normandy ever?
No, As a matter of fact, I went to schooling in my first year from 38 to 39 in Grenoble, which is very close to the French Alps, and we had busy enough a time just to keep up with the school assignments and improving our French. So we really had no time to
Yeah.
go to Normandy. Then we went to Bordeaux, and by the time we might have the answer is very clear. We did not go to Normandy.
Yeah. Okay. So you weren't familiar with that area when you came.
No, not at all.
My other question would be, how hard was it for, the truck convoys to keep up with the rapid advance of Patton and the whole Third Army and the Fourth Armored Division?
Could you repeat the question?
How difficult was it for the trucks to keep up with the rest of the Fourth Armored and just Patton's Third Army in general during his drive across France?
Oh, it was quite a challenge, but I think he did a marvelous job, and somehow he was able to challenge the German occupation. But in November, in November 41, well, no, November 43, we stopped in Alsace to advance, and the reason we stopped was that Patton wanted to keep on going, but General Bradley did not feel that we had enough that we didn't have enough goodies to attack Germany in November 43, and Patton didn't agree. But the way they convinced Patton not to go on his own was that they reduced the amount of gasoline that Patton's army could get, so thereby preventing an attempt to advance into Germany in November 43.
War.
1944.
Yeah, it's 44.
Yeah.
Well, no, I just again, for anyone who wants to know, the documentary series Patton 360 actually covers the experience of the Fourth Armored, at least in the later episodes, from the breakout at Normandy all the way to the liberation of as you mentioned, Odrov and all the other camps and occupied Czechoslovakia, which was really great series.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
But I have a question. There's this famous photo. You didn't happen to see Patton, Eisenhower, and Bradley at the camp when you went into the camp?
You talk about Odrov?
Yeah, an Odrov, yeah.
Yeah, no, they no, I was not, and they made sure that that also General Eisenhower would see that slaughter, and I'm sure it would upset anybody.
I mean,
it's just a question of degree of.
There's a very famous photo of all three of them just looking over what Major Albin Erzik pointed out of this giant hamburger, what he called it was like a grill, just where they were throwing all the dead bodies. Which
oh, I didn't see that photograph.
Yeah. Well, no, it's just an interesting photograph.
For sure.
But yeah, I also understand that the Lorraine region during the time when you were there, it was rainy, it was just sluggish. How hard was it to move the trucks through just that kind of mud and just terrain?
To kind of what?
How hard was it to drive the trucks through all the mud and the rain in the Lorraine region of France?
The rain was
The Alsace-Lorraine in that region.
the rain.
Yeah, he said. the
Well,
weather.
we managed. We had tents, and we managed. And as I pointed out to another questioner, the fact that we had a laundry company available near the advancing forces helped us to keep our feet healthy.
He said,
Yeah.
how did the trucks perform?
Oh,
How
the
did the
trucks
trucks
did
do
very
with
well.
the
The trucks did extremely well because there was each truck had a low gear and a high gear, and we were able to manage, with a few exceptions, to cross fields and what have you. And it was curious when we finally arrived in Czechoslovakia when we arrived in Czechoslovakia was it
45.
1940? No, not 40.
45.
1945. We had two high German officers on our hood of the truck because the Fifth Corps surrendered to us, and the officer said, and we were ready to go across the field, and the officers warned us that we won't make it, but they didn't realize we had this advanced design of the trucks with low and high gear, and they were very much astonished that we were successful in making our way across several fields.
Wow. Cool. Well, Matthew, thanks for coming on. You have anything else you want to say before you leave?
No, just thank you for your service, and it's a great honor talking to you and everyone else who I've ever talked to on this channel.
Yeah.
But I'm gratified that you still show an interest in that part of our history, and I thank you for participating in this.
Absolutely. All right, Matthew, always a pleasure. Good to see you, man. Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yep.
All right, so Gideon, somebody in the chat asked, let's see, Asha Harlow asked, how many languages do you speak?
Well, just German, French, and English. I made attempts at other languages, but I didn't really pursue it, so I won't mention them. But
Are you fluent in German and French? Are you
yeah,
fluent?
but what is interesting is that as of today, I can communicate more easily in French than in German.
Oh, really?
And the reason is that German, I didn't speak very much German. After I came back for the war and joined my family again, I was so anti-German that I didn't want to speak German, which was, in a sense, from an objective point of view, rather naive. And so my French is much better than my German, but I can communicate in either language quite well. It's just in German, maybe able to be completely fluent again. I would probably need 2 weeks or maybe a month.
Let's do it. Let's get you back on track.
Yeah.
Spend a couple weeks. You can teach me some German.
But you had a question if he was fluent in both languages. He is, because he was educated in Austria until he was 13, 14.
Yeah.
And he was learning French already before moving to France, where he spent 3 years there. And then later on in life, and he was actually really good at French, and then he ended up marrying a woman from France. So they would communicate sometimes, going to France, going to France often as well. They went back a lot together, and he stayed active with the French combative group.
Then of course, my wife was French, and so I talked French with her relatives quite a few times with her. So I feel very much. I feel more, if it was a question of Austria and France, which country would I feel closer to? It would be France.
Nice, nice.
But of course, the United States is my country, and I feel fortunate that I was able to immigrate to the United States. There was an interesting sideline to that. We went from Marseille, which was in the non-occupied zone, to Spain and Portugal, to Cuba, before we came to the United States. The reason was that we had registered, we were eligible for an immigration visa to the United States in Marseille, but you needed a certain proof that you could keep on living there. So one way of doing it was to make an affidavit which certified the fact that you had some monetary resources in the United States. My father was afraid that if he gave away the financial resources for the affidavit, that due to the hostile reaction of some of the American consular personnel, that there could be a possible leak to the Germans, and so he decided it was safer to go to Cuba first and then apply for a visa to the United States. And at this time of this story kind of becomes very much alive again, because I don't know how you can solve the migrant problem now. But I can feel that some of the consular personnel could very well also be very hostile to the immigrants, not realizing that on one side is the consular employee who has a safe life ahead of him. On the other hand, is the immigrant that is usually called migrant, who might lose her or his life.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we've got our new friend in here, who I was lucky enough to meet in France last year. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to Mr. Kantor?
I hope you can hear me because the connections with us. Malta.
The connection's pretty bad. I can hear you a little bit.
Is it better now?
Yes.
Sorry about that. So my name is Michael. I'm from Malta. I'm 20 years old, and I'd just like to tell you Happy Veterans Day.
He said he's Michael, and he's calling. What city are you from in France?
He's from.
No, I'm from Malta.
Monta. He's from the north.
That's in Europe. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to wish you a Happy Veterans Day and thank you for your service. Firstly, I appreciate it a lot.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I'll get straight into it. I just wanted to ask you. So you were involved in logistics, and that was an important part in the war. Did you ever feel that there was a lot of pressure for you to get to wherever your destination was, that you were heavily relied upon?
What is he?
He was asking, did you ever feel like you were heavily relied upon to get to certain destinations? Is that correct? Can you repeat the question?
Well, I didn't really think along those lines. When you're young, you're kind of hopeful, and I didn't really think of that.
Yeah, it's
of
probably one of those
whether
things.
I could whether I could reach my destination in time or not.
Yeah, it's probably one of those things that we see now how important your job was and how crucial
Yeah.
it was. But at the time when you're that person in it, you don't. I mean, you're. I'm a teenager, like how important could I actually be? But yeah, that's a good question. That's something that I've never really thought about. That's good.
And I'd like to ask, I'm going to jump a bit into the time in time, but having been through a lot in the war, at the end of it, what were your emotions when the war finally came to an end?
Emotion for what?
When the war ended, what
Yeah.
were your emotions, your feelings, and
Well, it was a wonderful feeling, and probably very difficult to describe unless you are unless you are unless you can extend your language to such refined feelings. But it was when I first really felt it when we went from Eastern Germany to Czechoslovakia. That when we arrived in Czechoslovakia, I mean, I knew that the Germans had been beaten, and that was just a wonderful feeling. But with it also came a feeling of sadness because of my personal experience regarding my family.
Where were you?
Yeah,
when
and
the war
last,
ended?
sorry.
So I was just gonna ask, where were you when the war ended?
I was we were in the vicinity of Susuce. That's a city in Moravia,
Oh, okay.
and it was an interesting experience. The Czechs were very happy to see the German go, and we stopped. I think it was in Susice. We had also jeeps, and before we knew it, they made a table full of pastry. They used the hood of the jeep to make a pastry table available for anybody who wanted to taste their delicious pastry.
Nice little celebration.
Yes.
That's awesome. All right, go ahead, Michael. Oh, looks like Michael's frozen. He ain't moving. He ain't moving. We might have lost him. Uh-oh. Well, that's a bummer. Yeah, we lost him. I guess the internet in Malta is pretty rough because he's just on a little island. All right. Well, hopefully he asked all the questions he wanted. So hopefully we can get him back some other time. All right, let's bring on another person. Let's bring on Isaac. You doing all right, Gideon?
Yeah, I didn't get what you said just now.
Oh, I was saying we lost. I think he had a bad internet connection, so we lost him. But just want to make sure you're still doing all right. I mean,
Yeah, I'm fine.
if you're getting tired, let me know.
No, it's I mean that type of thing keeps you going because you're so much involved in it personally. So that kind of a reservoir of super energy takes over.
Right on. Well, cool. Isaac, can you hear us?
What did you say?
I can't hear you.
I can hear you, but what did you say?
oh,
Well,
he
I
was
can't.
at,
I was asking Isaac if he could hear us, but I can't hear Isaac.
What's that?
he's going around talking to other people,
Yeah.
and sometimes the connections aren't, really good, not strong. So
Yeah, I got no audio from Isaac here. Okay, he's got to work it out. So, Isaac, why don't you go ahead and leave, and then because if I kick you out, you can't come back in. So go ahead. There we go. All right. So let's bring on someone else. Think we know this guy. This is one of our BDF team.
And they're really good, not strong. So
What's up, Josh?
Oh, sorry. I was watching the YouTube live, and I think it's a little bit off. Not a
Yeah,
whole
it's
lot.
about an 8-second delay.
Oh, awesome! Thanks for connecting me, and it's a pleasure to get to meet you, Mr. Kantor. I just had a couple questions because I'm going to be writing up a story from this call, and I just wanted to get a couple in.
Right.
I just have two questions. The first one is there a moment you can think back to during the war that was either so full of laughter, joy, or something else that made you and your fellow soldiers kind of forget you guys were fighting a war? Is there a moment of bliss that you can think back to?
Well, I think, yeah, I agree with you. There were good moments too, but I think that in spite of that, there was always the war in the background. But I can think of for example, in November 1944, when we were camping in Alsace in the early part of November 44. We had a chance to mix with some French people, and we had some pleasant experiences. By the way, one thing I've forgotten before is that that later on, quite a few years after the war, I married a French woman, so my French got it. I think I mentioned it before. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I got French got a boost.
So like, do you remember a specific time when it was just like you guys had a great night, just laughing, having a great time, just getting some drinks, or was it always just intense for you?
Well, it might have occurred, but maybe my warped mind at the time did not register it. I don't remember anything of a hilarious response that was completely contrary to what the war is all about. I don't remember anything, but it could have happened.
Yeah. Good question.
Excellent. And I guess this is kind of a similar question in nature, but I guess overall, what is your most memorable memory that you took home with you? Is there anything that really stands out to you, as far as your personal experience in the military?
What type of experience are you talking about?
Just
can you repeat the question, maybe?
Yeah. What's the memory that stands out to you the most, either from during the war or even just overall during your time in the military?
What memory stands?
Yeah, I understand the question. What is there something memorable? Well, one of the, I would say that was kind of memorial. We advanced to Eastern Germany between Dresden and Leipzig, and suddenly we made a U-turn. And I was wondering what's happening here. But it turned out that we were in Eastern Germany in the zone that was designated to be occupied by the Russian army according to the Yalta Agreement. And so we had overstepped our bounds. And that was kind of a memorial thing because it had political implications.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah. How did you guys resolve that? What happened?
Well, I found out what happened, but I mean, personally, I didn't feel that much compassion for the Russians, except that that possibly they helped us finish the war earlier, but I had certain trepidations.
Yeah.
Fair.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair. Awesome. I thank you for answering my questions, and it was a pleasure to meet you. And I wish you a happy Veterans Day, and I look forward to meeting you in person one of these days.
But I thank you that you came aboard on this questioning, and it's always an honor for me to have these very personal questions of my experience asked of me. Well, basically, I feel that such questions are appreciated by me, but not necessarily mean that everybody would want to ask them.
Yeah,
That's fair.
absolutely. Cool. Well, Josh, good to see you.
Yes, as always, as always. I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll look forward to listening for the rest of the call.
All right, cool. All right, well, we'll see you later, Josh. We're going to try and get Isaac back in and see if he's got his audio worked out.
Sounds good.
All right. See ya.
See ya.
All right, so we're bringing Isaac back in here. Let's see if he can talk, if he can hear us. Isaac, did you get it worked out?
Yeah, I got it figured out. I actually
All
am
right.
doing it on my phone because the college I am in is really weird in how they control your internet. It's really strange.
Nice. Well, we can hear you now. So you're on live with Mr. Gideon Kantor. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Isaac. I'm 19 now, and I'm from the United States, from Minnesota, but I'm currently studying in Ireland and will be for the next 6 years.
Oh, wow. Another call from Ireland. Cool.
Yeah.
All
We had
right.
another person from Ireland?
What?
We had another person from Ireland?
Yeah, the first guy we talked to, Nathan. He's from, if he's 14, almost 15, lives in Ireland.
Oh, fair. Cheers. How are you doing, Gideon?
Yes, how you doing?
What's that?
Yes, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
All right, curious. I was curious. I guess, how do you feel like your experience as a World War II veteran has changed over time? Because our memory of the event is very different from like the 50s to the way it is now. What's your experience been like over time?
On the difference on the part of whom?
Your experience as a veteran, how do you feel like it has changed, or if it has changed over time?
Since 1950?
Yeah.
How's your
Like,
experience?
has his view of the war changed? Is that what you're asking?
I guess, but I mean, I mean
His
that's
experience
also
as a veteran.
yeah. As I mean, like, because veterans have been, as history moves, like, has people understanding of history changes, your perspective on wars change, your perspective on veterans change. Like in the 1950s, a lot of people were veterans. Even my dad's generation was like a lot of people were just veterans. But now, like, I remember one of the first Zoom meetings I was on with you guys. There's a guy who brought his kid in to see a veteran because that would be a last chance for that. So I was just curious about how your experience would change over time.
More people saying thank you. I mean,
What's that?
how's your experience changed over time? Do you feel like people treating you?
But I think as time goes on, really, World War II is becoming more and more part of history. With other conflicts now taking over, and I would say there are two areas that were not part of World War II, and that is the military actions in Israel and the Ukraine.
You feel do people acknowledge you more now than they did back in the day, like in the 50s?
That they might get back to the days like the 50s?
I'm saying, like, back in the 50s, there was probably a lot more World War II veterans around.
Right.
People would recognize you. Do you find now that people recognize you as much, less, more?
Well, they do more, but it's in a sense it's more dramatic for me because I know there are not that many people around anymore than it was in 1950, where World War II veteran was a common was more of a common occurrence.
Yeah. Like you had breakfast with what, 7 World War II veterans this morning? Is that what you said?
What's that?
You had breakfast with 7 World War II veterans this morning? Is that what you told me?
No, I had lunch with them.
Oh, you had lunch with them, yeah. So I mean that'd be a rare sight these days to see 7 World War II veterans in the same spot.
Yeah, it's an unusual experience, and in a sense, I think I'm fortunate that there's so much interest in World War II veterans because it's of course very pleasing to me, but it also tells me that people don't forget things, and it's a very hopeful sign.
Very cool. Very cool. You got anything else, Isaac?
Well, I mean, I'm guessing there's other people, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. But
Oh, you're good.
I appreciate talking to you, and I think it's really incredible that you were in America for like 2 years, right? And then you were willing to volunteer and leave college to fight, and I think that's just incredible. I mean, even just volunteering is really incredible. I think I just thought that was really incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, hearing his story and knowing that he was over there. He was already over there. Like he got firsthand, he knew what it was like, and he escaped from it, and then chose to go back into it and serve.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's just an incredibly noble thing for you to have done, Gideon, and I'm very thankful that you did. And it's like it's inspiring to know that there are people that would do that. Like that's wild to me, and I'm very appreciative of that.
But maybe that was one of the joyous occasions because I knew that I can personally, both on the United States level and my own, get involved in, to maintain democracy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. It was great. It was great. Let's see. Cool. Well, Isaac, do you have anything else you want to say?
I mean, I guess I have some other questions, but they're not. I guess I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No, you go ahead. Ask one more question.
Oh, cheers. What would it be? I guess. So when you're in I guess this is not the economy, but how did you feel like you got your news about the war when you were in the war? How do you feel like you were informed? How do you feel like you got information?
How did you get information? How did you get news when you were in the war?
How did they get information about the end of the war?
No, how did you get, like, when you were in the war, how did you get news about what was happening elsewhere, or even in America or back home, or even in Germany? Like when you were advancing into Germany, how did you and your team get news?
Well, I think mainly the Stars and Stripes that tried to help the GI to keep up with what was going on. And if I remember correctly, they did such a good job that they got citations. The Stars and Stripes journalists got citations.
Now, for the average person who may not know what the Stars and Stripes is, can you explain that? What the Stars and Stripes?
But that was a newspaper. If my memory is correct, I think that appeared once a week, I think, and kind of kept us up with what was going on beyond our limited contact with the Germans, and of course the Japanese.
Yeah. So were you guys getting news updates on Stars and Stripes from the Japanese war as well?
I think to some extent, but I'm glad that something comes to my mind now. My family, particularly my father, was always interested in the political situation of the world, and so already at breakfast he would make comments on political events. And so when I got to England to eventually be sent to France, when I got to England, I was close to Manchester. So I took some time off to order the Manchester Guardian and send it to my address, to my military address. And what's kind of ironic about it is that, in a sense, I'm just kidding now, but it slowed down the mail because they couldn't deliver the Manchester Guardian every week, but only when the combat situation was stable. So I was able to keep up with everything by reading the Manchester Guardian.
Oh,
But
wow.
that was a unique situation that I don't think anybody else would have got involved in.
Huh. Interesting.
Kind of
Right on.
surprised you would have.
Right on. Well, Isaac, always good to see you.
Yeah.
And if you have one last thing you want to say, go for it.
Again, thank you very much for your time, and have a good Veterans Day.
So you're welcome, and thanks a lot.
Right on.
Cheers.
Cheers. So Gideon, we had someone in the chat ask this, saying they're from Germany, and the 4th Armored Division came through their home area in April 1945. He's wondering, what do you remember coming through the state of Thuringia? I don't know if I'm saying that right. Thuringia.
To what?
That? It's
what did you say? What was the last one? India?
Thuringia.
Huh?
Thuringia.
Yeah.
A town in Germany.
Thuringia.
Do you remember going through that town? Do you remember going through that town?
To do what?
Erfurt, Weimar.
Oh yeah, right.
Area.
I remember those towns, but most of the time we didn't go through the towns because it was almost unless it was a German stronghold, we kept out of the town and kept on moving east.
Oh, okay. So you didn't spend too much time in that area?
Didn't find what?
You didn't spend too much time in that area? You kind of just were passing through?
No, we spent time in the area, but not in the towns.
Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, someone watching was just asking about that. Let's see. Let's bring in one more person here. And he's probably gonna be mad at me because I can't remember his name. Because I can't pronounce what it says on the screen because I'm not Greek. Let's see. He's connecting. I can see you. I can't hear you yet. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Doesn't look like you have any audio connected.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't. As far as I can see on here, there's no audio device connected. Go ahead and leave the room right now and then try and get it connected. Oh wait, it says you're connecting. It says it didn't work. All right. Well, we'll try and get you back in. All right. So let's see who we got here. These dang audio issues, this technology, huh? What was technology like back in the war?
Well, that was kind of interesting. When we crossed the French German border in advancing, we had fighter planes above us.
What was
the way they communicated is by telephone, and you almost felt that they came so close to us so that they can learn more about what's going on. So I
Yeah.
think the technology was advanced, but not that much. As a matter of fact, it came to my mind in Atlanta when the Best Defense Foundation gave me the opportunity to ride a C-46.
The C-47.
Was the regular cargo plane of the U.S. Army,
Yeah.
and realized that so I had not thought about it before, but suddenly it was clear that at the Second World War, all you knew was propellers and jet engines. I think of the future.
Yeah. That was fun going up in that plane though.
Oh, that was terrific.
Yeah.
I really am thankful for the initiative
Yeah.
to do.
All right. Well, we got Paul here. Is that right? Is that your name?
Yeah, that's my name. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, it's my first time with Zoom ever, so
Yeah.
I just a bit confused with the program. My
you're
friend
good.
Ralph Peters just told me that the Zoom call is on, and I was flying to my computer and trying to get everything started.
So if you're friends with Ralph, that must mean you're in the Netherlands.
No, I'm from Germany. I'm
Oh, you're
actually
in Germany.
Yeah, I'm from Weimar, Germany. I was texting in the chat.
Oh,
and,
you're Paul.
Yeah, it was me. A historian from the city of Weimar. That's the city where the Buchenwald concentration camp was located. And I'm researching a lot about the liberation of the Americans in the area and in the state of Thuringia. And yeah, the 4th Armored Division was the spearhead of Patton's Third Army, and they liberated a big part of my home state. And they were bypassing the big cities of Erfurt and Weimar and Jena, and just going through all the small villages. And it would be really interesting to me what Gideon can remember of that time. I know that they rushed through the area really fast, but if he can remember something of these days, it'd be really interesting to me.
Did you understand all that, Gideon?
Well, from my point of view, the after the bulge, there we really didn't have that. We did, and crossing getting across the Rhine River. After we crossed the Rhine River, and on our southern side, I forgot now was a bridge that was not destroyed. After we crossed the Rhine River, I don't really recall much opposition, and so as the gentleman pointed out, they bypassed the cities because there were no strongholds in the city.
Mm-hmm.
You guys should talk a little German. See how that works.
Did you get my last statement? And we bypassed. We went after the Rhine River crossing. We went at a steady pace, and since there was no opposition in the cities, we never went through them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Want to speak German to him? You can speak German to that guy.
What?
That guy's in Germany. You can speak German to him.
What in Germany?
You can answer in German. He's German.
Ja, Sie können Deutsch sehr gut.
Ja, wie geht es Ihnen?
Aber niemand wird uns verstehen.
Ja, aber ich verstehe Sie sehr gut.
Bitte?
Ich verstehe Sie sehr gut. Ihr Deutsch ist gut.
Ja, aber ich habe nicht viel gesprochen. Wenn ich jetzt wieder mit Leuten sprechen könnte, die Deutsch sprechen, dann würde es mir nicht lange, würde es sehr einfach für mich sein, wieder flüssig Deutsch sprechen.
Ja, es ist viel Training. Man muss eine
Subtitles.
Sprache sprechen.
Was ist das?
Subtitles. I don't know what you guys are saying.
I just told him to learn a language or to don't forget it, you need to speak it. And it's just a question of training.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
for sure. For sure. So, Paul, do you have any other questions that you wanted to ask?
Not so far. I'm really surprised that is happening here. So I'm a bit flashed because he's the first 4th armored veteran I ever found.
Oh, wow.
They're really rare to find. And
Now you actually get to talk face to face with them.
yeah, that's true. And I found a few guys from the 80th Division and 6th Armored Division, but so far nobody from the 4th ID. Yeah.
Here he is. Here he is. Now, Gideon, I can't remember, are you planning on going to Normandy in June?
Are we going to Normandy? We don't know. We haven't really heard anything.
Maybe,
We
yeah,
would like to.
Okay.
because it would also be very nice because since my wife was French, we could again say hello to her relatives.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, after the ceremonies.
Now, Paul, have you ever been to Normandy?
Sure, yeah. I
Yeah.
met the Best Defense Foundation at the 75th anniversary.
Oh, okay.
Because I was there with a German veteran, and for the dinner in, I think it was in Amfreville at the castle, in a big tent.
Remember that? I remember the German veteran too.
Yeah, Paul Gold. He was sitting with your veterans on the same table. Yeah.
Remember that? I remember that well. Very cool. Very cool.
And
How old are you now?
I'm 27.
Ah, they're very, very young.
You remember
Very
being
young.
27, Gideon?
Huh?
You remember being 27?
Oh yeah, I would, yeah.
That was a long time ago.
But
Oh, yeah.
for one thing, I believe, even if I had forgotten it, that at one time I was 27.
How old are you now?
Oh, da würde ich, in that case, I would actually prefer to say my memory fails me, but unfortunately it doesn't. It's 98 and a half.
Oh, proud
98.
age. Proud age.
Oh, man, creeping up
Yeah.
on 100, creeping up on 100, knocking on the door.
Yep.
Wild. I love it. It's so cool being able to talk to these guys who have lived 100 years.
Yep.
The things that have happened in the last 100 years, it's just wild. So cool.
Yep.
I just love being able to learn this history, experience it, talk to these guys live, and hear it from them, from the source. It's just so cool.
Yeah, definitely. I'm helping a lot in the trips of the rifle, Andy Biggio, and
Nice.
helping him to bring the veterans back to some places, and yeah, unique experiences to go with the veterans to the places where they saw action, and wow, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, cool. Paul, it was great to meet you.
Yep.
And, if you have one last thing you want to say.
Yeah. Thank you, Gideon, for liberating my state. Even we young Germans are really lucky and happy that you guys liberated our area, because you ended the darkest chapter in our country's history. So even for the young Germans, it's a liberation, not we didn't lost the war somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great perspective. I like that.
All right. Good
Very
evening.
cool.
I
All
will
right.
hear a little bit more.
Could I say something that is slightly out of order?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Could I say something that is slightly out of order?
Sure.
The Germans actually have treated the Jews that were chased out pretty well. They have gotten back all their belongings and what have you. But in Austria, it's different. In Austria, there's a law that if you, as a Jew, had a painting and it was confiscated, the only way you can get it back if you claim it at an auction that only appears once. After that, it's the person who got that painting, as a matter of fact, the thief who got the painting, who can keep the painting without any difficulty at all. And this has happened to many of the paintings that my father had, where the people just keep them. They think it's Jewish property. If it's Jewish property, it's our property.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that's the law now in Austria. That's after all these years, the Austrians have not have permitted their citizens to keep stolen paintings.
We just had to go on auction and buy back one of our old paintings after 80 years. We had to go in Germany and buy it from an auction house with our own money.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a different story, Austin. I'll tell you about that another time.
That's wild.
Didn't you did?
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that, man, just the average person would never even know about. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Wow. All right. Well, Paul, good to meet you.
You?
Hopefully we'll see you again.
Yep.
All right. Bye. Oh, Gideon fell. No, the phone fell. Did I lose him? All right. Well, I don't know what happened there, but we were going to end it there anyway. So let's see if Gideon can get back on. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us, and I'm just here by myself. This is weird. But I'd like to thank everyone for joining us, asking great questions, and I want to thank Gideon for spending, this hour and a half with us on Veterans Day. And thank you to all the veterans out there for your service. And hopefully we'll be doing more of these more often and get you guys on here and meet some more World War II veterans. So until then, peace out.